Tracking your habits is one of the most effective ways for you to stay motivated and to reach your goals. But as a minimalist, I know that tracking too many habits can also prove to be counterproductive. That's why I have chosen to downsize, and this year I have 3 goals that I have chosen to complete using 5 habits. And here is what these habits are. The first one is related to my number 1 goal this year, to make consistently good work, and that is to plan. I feel like not just with creative work, but also with any kind of work or with life in general, it is very important to have some sort of plan, even if it's vague, for what you want and what you want to see in the future. So this year I'm doing it a bit differently. I'm definitely tracking it to make sure that I stay on it consistently, but I have also decided to skip the yearly planning and turn to quarterly planning, because I feel like it's much easier to visualize the outcomes of a quarter rather than a year. It makes the impact of your daily actions seem much more important and much more visible. So for that, I am using the Life Map Planner by MuchelleB, because it has a lot of exercises for planning and a sheet for every single day of the year, with journaling prompts and reviews and a link to all the individual weeks and months on every page. It's just a very well-rounded product and I am getting a lot of value from it, but of course it is paid, so if you want to check out something similar, you can have a look at my minimalist planning sheets down in the description. My second goal was to feel more fit in my body, and by that I mean just improve my flexibility and my strength and maybe lose a little bit of weight in the process. And for that I am tracking 2 habits: intermittent fasting and yoga. I already have about a year of experience with intermittent fasting, and I have no problem with motivating myself to do it, especially knowing so much about the actual scientific benefits like improved longevity and metabolic boosts, but also for the discipline that it gives. Because before intermittent fasting, I would eat a lot of small snacks throughout the day and end up not knowing what I have actually had that day by the end of it. But now with a 6-hour eating window, I have 1 big meal around the start of it and 1 or 2 snacks in the middle, and then 1 smaller meal towards the end. So there is really no time for me to forget what I've had and just have something else without really even feeling like it. The reason why I still feel that it is important to track intermittent fasting is just so I can keep up with my consistency, and also because my eating window, it is 6 hours, but I don't want it to be rigid. So sometimes those 6 hours be from 11 to 5, or they will be from 1 to 7, and I tend to forget how I did it the day before, so that's why it's really good to track it. I've chosen to track yoga as well because 2020 just felt like a very sedentary year for me, and I don't want to feel like a couch potato anymore, but I also know that I cannot really stick to long-term and consistently some sport that I don't enjoy. For example, I hate jogging and I really can't stick to cardio or strength training a lot of the time. So if I want to keep up with something, I really have to enjoy it. And for me, that's yoga. It makes me feel so much better after a long day of sitting around on a laptop. It doesn't make me hurt or make me dread starting the exercise, and it even improves my mental health. It has definitely become something of a keystone habit for me because it makes me sit right throughout the day and walk straight and just take breaks and be mindful. And sometimes at the end of practice, I will even start meditating. I don't pressure myself to do it, but I really like it when that just happens naturally. My final yearly goal is to improve my mindful eating, and I definitely have tried everything in my power. My house is full of whole plant foods. There is no vegan cheese that I can start eating, there is no chocolate, there is no sugar, and yet I still somehow manage to experience problems with not eating mindfully. Sometimes when we make a dish that is particularly delicious, it is almost impossible for me to stop eating until I have a bellyache and start feeling very tired. I also tend to munch on healthy but random snacks throughout the afternoon, and I leave only a small margin of calories for my second meal of the day. And lastly, I also have a bit of a problem with drinking too. And I don't mean alcohol, I mean I'm not drinking enough water. Instead, I was replacing all of my thirst with eating or with coffee, which is not good. And whenever I would drink water, I would maybe cram into the last few hours of the day and not evenly spaced out throughout the day. To counteract my non-intuitive eating habits, I have decided to track my calories, and I know that intuitive eating is definitely not about tracking calories. It is about listening to your body, about when you should eat and what you should eat, but just the process of entering the information about what I'm eating and how much of it I'm eating into this application, it just gets me to be much more mindful with my food consumption. I do have a caloric aim for myself, which is about the amount of calories that my body would burn on a normal, relatively sedentary day, but I try not to get bothered if I'm anywhere above or below that. I'm just trying to be mindful. And on the side, I have already picked up a book about mindful eating that I've shared with you guys on Instagram, and I'm really excited to learn more about that and get better at the process. Finally, as part of my intuitive eating goal, I am really trying to stay on top of my water consumption, and that's because I feel like I am so far detached from the feeling of thirst that I often confuse it with hunger, and it's incredibly easy for me to ignore it. So I feel like getting back into the habit of regularly drinking water is going to improve my intuition about that a lot. The second reason that I'm tracking my water consumption is that I just thought that water tasted boring, so I was drinking a lot of coffee to replace that. And even though I really enjoy coffee, it was giving me trouble falling asleep and also with my heart, so I definitely don't want to keep going with that for too long. I've been experimenting with different ways to make water more appealing to me. I've been making vitamin water, different teas. I started drinking matcha, curcuma cacao, and even just citrus water because I really want to diversify and make water more interesting for myself. I also have my watch reminding me to drink water pretty regularly, which I showed you in my last video. This has been probably the most successful attempt for me to do this ever because it's just so hard to ignore when it's on your wrist and it takes 1 second to enter it into the app. So I have been really feeling some physical improvements from that, and that's why I really want to stick to it. And these are the 5 habits that I'm tracking in 2021 to reach my goals for the next quarter. Remember to keep it simple and frictionless, and to keep reminders around the house so that you can keep going. And if you're interested in creating a simple habit system, you can have a look over here. And if you are interested in just planning like a minimalist in general, you can have a look over here. If you found this video helpful, you can leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you very soon.